What if I told you that for years, some of the biggest spoilers for the MCU didn't come from leaks, but from the fans themselves? From wild Reddit threads to late-night forum discussions, fans have been trying to get one step ahead of Marvel all along. Today, we're breaking down some of the craziest theories and seeing just how many of them actually came true. Let's kick things off with the theory that became the literal engine for the biggest movie of all time. After 2015's Ant-Man, we were introduced to the quantum realm, a bizarre, subatomic dimension where the rules of time and space get a little weird. It was trippy for sure, but some fans saw more than just cool visuals. They saw a backdoor. The theory really gained steam after Ant-Man and the Wasp, when Janet Van Dyne specifically warns Scott Lang about time vortexes. Then, the post-credit scene stranded Scott in the quantum realm, right when Thanos snapped his fingers, when he finally gets out in Avengers Endgame. 5 years have passed on Earth, but for Scott, it only felt like about 5 hours. That was the last clue fans needed. Forum threads and YouTube comments exploded with the same idea. This wasn't just some weird dimension. It was the MCU's way of doing time travel without magic. Fans argued the Avengers could use it to bypass the need for the Time Stone and undo the snap. At the time, it felt like a stretch. Relying on the Ant-Man movies to solve the biggest cliffhanger in cinematic history, it sounded a little nuts. And then, Avengers Endgame came out. The theory wasn't just right, it was the entire plot. Tony Stark literally works with Scott Lang to build a time-space GPS that navigates the quantum realm, allowing the team to pull off the time heist and snag the Infinity Stones from the past. A wild fan theory went from online chatter to the central plot device of the Infinity Saga's grand finale, proving fans had cracked the code years in advance. From her very first appearance, some viewers suspected Wanda Maximoff was headed down a dark path. While the MCU largely positioned her as a tragic hero and an Avenger, a vocal group of fans saw the writing on the wall. They pointed to her comic book history, especially huge storylines like House of M.E., where her grief causes her to rewrite reality, and saw a clear roadmap for her character. Think about it. Her introduction in Avengers, Age of Ultron, was as an antagonist working with a genocidal robot, driven by rage and trauma. Even after she joined the Avengers, her story was defined by one catastrophic loss after another. Her brother Pietro, her public image after the incident in Lagos, and finally, Vision. Fans theorized that this constant trauma, combined with her reality-bending powers, was a recipe for a full-blown villain turn. They argued it wasn't a matter of if she would break, but when. WandaVision was the first major step. The show revealed Wanda had enslaved an entire town in a sitcom reality she created, forcing them to play parts in her grief-fueled fantasy, all while she was aware of their suffering. But Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness took the theory to its terrifying conclusion. Corrupted by the Darkhold, Wanda became the primary villain, a relentless and horrifying magical force, cutting down anyone who stood in her way of getting back to the children she created. What started as a theory based on comic book precedent became one of the most compelling and tragic villain arcs in the entire MCU. This next theory was born from a tiny, seemingly throwaway detail. In Captain Marvel, set in the 90s, a young Nick Fury tells Carol Danvers a weird personal fact to prove he isn't a shape-shifting Skrull. He can't eat toast that's been cut diagonally. It's a funny line, but some eagle-eyed fans remembered a scene in Avengers, Age of Ultron, where Fury does exactly that. He makes and eats a diagonally cut sandwich. This detail split the fan base. Was it just a simple continuity error, or was it a clue? A dedicated group of theorists insisted it was a clue. After Captain Marvel established that friendly Skrulls led by Talos existed, the theory got more specific. At some point, Talos had taken Fury's place on Earth. For years, this was just a fun gotcha detail debated online. Then came the post-credit scene of Spider-Man Far From Home. It's revealed that the Nick Fury and Maria Hill we had been following for the entire movie were actually Talos and his wife Soren in disguise. The real Fury was shown relaxing on a Skrull spaceship, taking a much-needed vacation. The idea behind the fan theory that Fury was being impersonated by a Skrull was officially canon. The Secret Invasion series later confirmed Fury had been using Skrulls as spies for decades, which makes you look back and wonder just which other appearances might not have been him. This theory reframes one of the most heartbreaking moments in the entire Infinity Saga. In Infinity War, Doctor Strange tells Tony Stark he viewed over 14 million possible futures and saw only one where they win. A short while later, he willingly hands the Time Stone over to Thanos to save Tony's life, seemingly breaking his promise to protect the stone at all costs. It looked like he just gave up. But fans immediately started arguing that this wasn't defeat. It was strategy. The theory goes that the one winning timeline Doctor Strange saw required Thanos to succeed at first. For that single victory out of 14,605 possibilities to happen, a very specific sequence of events had to play out. Tony Stark had to live. Thanos had to perform the snap. The stones had to be destroyed. And the remaining heroes had to wait 5 years to attempt the quantum time heist. From this perspective, Strange wasn't giving up. He was meticulously setting the stage. His every action, from his cryptic, "It was the only way," to his specific choice to save Tony, was a calculated move in a cosmic chess game. While the endgame never has a scene where Strange explains this plan, his actions line up perfectly with the theory. It's an interpretation so compelling that it's widely accepted by the fan base, turning a moment of despair into a masterstroke of genius. This one felt like the ultimate fan fantasy. For years, ever since Marvel started dropping hints about alternate timelines, fans dreamed of the impossible, seeing Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland's versions of Spider-Man share the screen. After the massive success of the animated Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, the calls for a live-action version grew deafening. The theory wasn't just wishful thinking. It was backed by clues. The casting of Alfred Molina as Doc Ock and Jamie Foxx as Electro, villains from the older Spider-Man franchises, sent the rumor mill into overdrive. The first trailer for Spider-Man: No Way Home all but confirmed it, showing Doctor Strange's spell going wrong and unleashing multiversal chaos. Fans were convinced this was how it would happen. Despite Andrew Garfield's very convincing denials in interviews, theorists dissected every frame of leaked footage, certain that the other Spider-Men were being digitally erased from the trailers. And then, it actually happened. Spider-Man: No Way Home delivered on the promise in the most spectacular way imaginable. It wasn't just a brief cameo, but a full-fledged team-up. Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Men were brought into the MCU, acting as mentors and brothers to Tom Holland's Peter Parker. The film was a massive celebration of 2 decades of Spider-Man movies, and a direct payoff to a theory that many considered too good to be true. Now, for a theory that isn't confirmed canon, but is so brilliant, it reframes a huge chunk of Asgardian history. The idea is that Thanos wasn't the first to try and assemble the Infinity Gauntlet. Odin once went on his own brutal quest for the stones. The main piece of evidence comes from Thor: Ragnarok. In Odin's vault, we see an Infinity Gauntlet, which Hela casually dismisses as a fake. This implies she knows what a real one looks like. The theory suggests that the murals Hela reveals, showing her and Odin on a violent campaign of conquest, weren't just about conquering the 9 realms, but about hunting for the Infinity Stones. After all, Asgard already possessed the Tesseract, the Space Stone, and Odin's father Bor had secured the Ether, the Reality Stone, long ago. They were already a third of the way there. According to this theory, Odin even commissioned the dwarves of Nidavellir to create the gauntlet. But he abandoned his bloody quest when he learned the sacrifice required to get the Soul Stone. He couldn't bring himself to sacrifice Hela. This change of heart led to his conflict with her and her eventual imprisonment. The fake gauntlet in his vault, therefore, wasn't just a prop. It was a reminder of the dark path he almost took. While totally a fan theory, it brilliantly recasts Odin from a benevolent king to a reformed conqueror, and suggests Thanos was merely finishing a project Odin started. Tony Stark's death was the emotional core of Avengers: Endgame. But what if a part of him is still out there? A persistent and popular fan theory suggests that Tony, a man who planned for everything, would have created a digital backup of his own consciousness. This is the guy who built an army of suits and multiple sentient AIS, like JARVIS and FRIDAY. Creating a contingency for his own death seems perfectly in character. The main clue fans point to is his holographic farewell message. The way the hologram seems to interact with Morgan, turning to look right at her before saying, "I love you 3000, feels more advanced than a simple pre-recording. Theorists argue this was either a test run or the first activation of a Tony Stark AI. This idea is pulled straight from the comics, where a Stark AI mentors the young hero Ironheart, Riri Williams, a character who is now in the MCU. With Stark Tech still playing a major role in the universe, And with Riri Williams now established, the stage seems perfectly set for this theory to come true one day. While his physical body is gone, the idea that Tony Stark could return as an AI mentor to a new generation of heroes is a crazy theory that feels incredibly plausible. So what do you think? Are there any other confirmed theories we missed? Or what about the wild theories that are still out there waiting to be proven? Let us know your favorite theories down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed digging into the MCU, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns, just like this one. Thanks for watching.